The concept behind this coil is that you have these strands of twisted wire that have become untwisted, and then ribbon wire wrapped around those at each joint. And so you got these little balls almost of bundles of wires twisted up, and the juice goes inside of those and gets trapped, and then the ribbon wire is conducting. As it heats up, it conducts and increases the heat at the tips, at both tips of these little balls of bundles of wires. And so vapor it doesn't take much heat to just have vapor, jetting out of these under pressure. And I'll just let you see what it looks like as it lights up here. So it lights up pretty quick because we're dealing with 32 gauge, 4 strands, and just one piece of 0.5 ribbon wire. And so from the side, it actually gives it this type of star appearance, which is totally out of focus, but and this is how aligned you can get it. Like the coil that I wrap in the video ends up like this, which works just as well. It just doesn't look quite as pretty. It does the same thing, have the same kind of concept. So that's a brief introduction. Okay, we've got a build video for you today. Build is for Tidal wire like the waves. A guy by the name of Quentin Altop, he messaged me on Instagram, or he tagged me in this video of this wire that he made, and immediately it caught my attention just because it looked really unique. And the first time I built it, I used like 26 gauge or 27 gauge or something like that with 0.8 ribbon and reverse twisted it like that. And I didn't really like it. The outside of the coil was too far away from the wick and couldn't wick efficiently enough. And then I rebuilt it again with the 32 gauge, just like in this video. I just did a single coil the first time, and it really grabbed my attention because it was a 0.24 ohm coil, and it was just really producing vapor, and still had a lot of flavor in it. And so I've been playing around with it a lot the last 2 weeks. And if you want to check out some of Quentin's videos, you can check out his Instagram. I link to it down in the description. But I'll just show you a little bit of performance on this thing. For 0.2 ohms, I mean, to me it seems like a lot more vapor than usual. It's almost like a high efficiency coil. And at the beginning you should have seen some of the shots of it firing up and kind of an explanation of that. So since it's 32 gauge, there's not much ramp up time on this stuff, which is pretty cool. So not a lot of ramp up time, quite a bit of vapor, lots of vapor for the ohms that it's at. So I'm thinking variations on this, you can end up with lots of battery life, real long battery life with high performance. So I've been messing around with this quite a bit the last couple of weeks, and I'm super impressed with it. Don't do that too close to your face, though. That's about it. Hope you enjoyed the build video. Okay, what we're going to need to make this coil is going to be some 32 gauge kanthal, some ribbon wire kanthal, which is just that flat kanthal, comes in a spool. It doesn't really matter which size you use. I'm going to be using 0.5 just because I have 0.5 and 0.8. I found 0.5 works a little bit better for this build. Some pliers to hold onto that wire, some clippers or scissors, and something to wrap your coil, as well as a drill. And so to get started on this, we're just going to grab some of this 32 gauge. We're going to grab 4 strands of it. And with 32 gauge, I don't even bother straightening it or anything like that before I twist it up, just because it's pretty easy to keep it all together without kinking up. to get all the slack out before you twist it and get them all aligned. I'm just going to grab 2 lengths 4 times. Just 2. 3. 4. There we go. And then I'm just going to grab these and get all the ends together. All 4 strands. And you don't want them to be going in all different directions like that, so you can kind of adjust it and try to get all of those natural curves in the wire lined up. That looks pretty good. Alright, once you have, basically, it doesn't have to be perfect. I just go ahead and tie a knot, just an overhand knot in the end of these wires to keep them together. And then I just grab some pliers and pull on that just to make sure that the knot is tight and even. You can kind of pull on the other wires too to get them aligned. And I just clip the end off a little bit just to give the drill something to hold on to. And just stick that knot right into the chuck of the drill. Tighten it up. And these wires are a little bit long, so I'm going to go ahead and clip off just the ends of them, just to make it a little bit easier to work with. And then you just pull the slack out of this wire as good as you can, so that all the wires are as straight as you can get them. Hold the ends with some pliers. Kind of take a look at it before you start drilling, just to make sure they're all still aligned. And then it doesn't matter which direction that you have this going, but make sure that you remember which way you go, because you're going to have to twist it opposite way with that ribbon wire in a second. So I'm just going to go ahead and start twisting this up. And just like in all the other twisting videos, you want to let this wire contract as you go. And once it feels like it's not contracting anymore, you want to go ahead and let go of that. I'm going to clip this little imperfection off at the end here. Pull this guy out of the chuck. And grab a piece of this ribbon wire. Hopefully you don't let it unspool. Alright. You just want to grab basically the same length as this twisted piece of twisted wire that we have here. Clip that off. And then the nice thing about ribbon wire, as far as twisting it up with something else, is that you can wrap it around the wire that you're twisting it with. And that gives the drill chuck something to hold on to, and it keeps these wires nice and aligned. So I got that wrapped around a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and stick it into the chuck of the drill. Tighten it down. And then just get as much of this slack out as we can, but before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and switch this drill to the opposite direction of what I just twisted it in. Have as much slack out as you can. You can wrap the other wire, or the other piece of ribbon wire, around the end of this twisted wire. And just grab that piece with some pliers. And you can actually, that way you can kind of adjust this ribbon wire and make sure it's nice and tight before you clamp down all the way. Once you got that clamped down, you just go ahead and start twisting this again in the opposite direction than we originally did. And this just the same, you want to let this contract as you go. And I'm going to go ahead and pause it and show you guys some macro shots of what this wire looks like right now, and then we can compare that to what it's going to look like after we're done twisting it even more. And you can see on this wire that you'll notice the twisted wire is already starting to open up a little bit, because as you reverse twist that, you end up with that wire actually opening up all the way. And so as we twist it more and more, it's untwisting the twisted wire that was originally twisted. And then the ribbon wire in between it keeps those wires from just unbundling. So you're going to end up with these little bundles of balled up wire. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to see if I can't just catch this on video. I'm kind of interested to see what it would look like too. Almost there. And here you can see why Quentin wanted to call this Tidal wire, because it starts looking, it gets that wavy pattern in it. And we're almost to the point where we want to stop. And right about there is where I'm going to stop this. So that's what it should look like, if you can even see it at that point, when you want to build this. Stop it and go ahead and build the coil. Alright, well that was pretty cool. I've never seen that happen in the macro mode before. It was pretty neat. I went ahead and made 3 of these off camera, and then I'm just going to do one without going into the up close mode, just so you can see what it looks like from a normal standpoint. Oops, I'm going to do this opposite way. So just wrap it around the end there. That way you can adjust this while still holding tension with those pliers. So I'm just going to grab hold of this guy. Make sure this is going in the right direction. Twist her up. Alright, and when one portion stops spinning, it's basically done. So I'm going to go ahead and stop that. Alright, and then it's just a matter of clipping these wires, the ends off, and then building a coil. So let's go on to that point. Go ahead and make a parallel coil with this. You don't have to. I mean, this wire, I figured out recently how it works, and I'll kind of go into a little bit of detail of that probably at the beginning of the video. But it works really well. The higher ohms, it produces a lot of vapor. So it doesn't have to be super low ohms. Like I built one and it was a 0.2, I believe 0.24 ohm coil, and I've got videos of that on Instagram. The performance on that one, but it heats up instantly and just pops the vapor right off. I'm gonna probably do a dual parallel, but I'm gonna have to decide that after I check the ohms on this guy, as to whether I want to do a dual or not. So I'm gonna go ahead and do 5 wraps, 5 parallel wraps with this guy. And so as you're bending this around, it's really springy wire. And you want to try to get them aligned as you go along here. Let me see if this is working. Two, 3. 4. And you don't want these guys overlapping, because they will hotspot on you. 5. And the original part that I was wrapping doesn't want to cooperate, so I'm just going to pull it off of there. I probably don't even need pliers. I'm just going to pull one wrap off, tighten it up a bit, straighten that out. Alright, that's a little better. Flip it around. And I'm wrapping this on a 3/32 size screwdriver. You can use whatever you want. Okay. Go ahead and do my best to mount this guy in here. Springy wires. There we go. Okay, and once I get the negative posts, I get the wires basically through there as much as I want. Go ahead and tighten that part down. Just get that in place. And then can adjust this guy accordingly. And so you can hold it in place and give these other wires a little tug. See if it can't even it out a little bit. And since it's 32 gauge, you have to be a little bit careful because it will break on you just because it's so thin. And let's go ahead and tighten it down, and I'm going to just dry fire it a few times and check the ohms here. You can see how this stuff lights up. Started changing shape right away, so I'm going to go ahead and let off the button and pull on that guy. I noticed one of these wires somehow got loosened up, so go ahead and see if I can't tug it through. Hopefully it doesn't break on me. Not that one. I'm just going to hold that in place, pull it down. A lot tighter. And if you're getting, I don't know if you can see that on camera, let me see here. Unevenness as far as how it lights up, you can just stick your screwdriver back in, give it a little wiggle. It looks pretty good. Alright, let's check the ohms and then see if it's doable. This ohm meter is reading 0.31 something, and I found that this ohm meter is 0.05. It reads 0.05 too low in my experience across the board. So it's more like a 0.36 coil. So if I do a dual, it's going to drop down to 0.18, which I'm totally fine with. 30 amp batteries, Sony batteries, no worries there. So I'm going to go ahead and throw a dual on here, and then that should be about it. Second coil, I'm just going to show you guys what the best practice is when wrapping them up. you'll notice that those little wave pattern can actually line up with each other. And so the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to get them as close as I can to each other while I'm wrapping it, and try to get those to actually sink in to each other so they're totally connected. Yeah, I'm going to try to do that and see if we can't get a nice coil built. One last trick with this wire. Since those wave patterns, like you just saw in that macro shot, match up, you can push them together and find them, and they'll fit together almost like, I don't know, Legos or something. And you can get a really nice tightly wrapped coil. Let me see if I can get it here before I start this parallel. And then as you're wrapping, you just hold tension. And the last time I did this, it was able to get it all perfectly interlocked the whole way. Looks like it's working this time. Do one more wrap so I can pull one off. Yep, so this is going to be the coil. Damn, that was out of focus. How long, I wonder. Sorry. This is going to be the coil that you see at the beginning of the video, because it's a lot prettier. So then you'll see, I mean, it's going to work basically just the same, whether it all lines up and looks nice or not. I like to have my stuff lining up. That's about it. Hope you enjoyed it.